Recording started.
All right, hi Math 8 students. We're getting started on this recording here for the next test that we're going to have, which is going to be, I can't remember actually exactly. I think it's something like Tuesday of next week, but I'll tell you for sure because I know I have 3 different math tests for the junior highs, 7, 8, and 9. So anyways, you're probably wondering what the picture of Jesus is about here, and we'll get into that in just a sec. So basic integer rules for multiplying and dividing. So have you guys ever heard the expression, 2 wrongs don't make a right? You probably heard that before, right? You've heard that before, eh, Chantel? Of course that expression's so true. So it was Jesus didn't say that exactly, those words exactly, but he did say things like, love your enemies. And when he said, do not become overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. So this is really powerful stuff, and families and countries that are fighting could change if they got this word of Jesus and the rest of his words in their hearts. So you'll see in just a sec where I'm heading with this. So if we think about this expression, 2 wrongs don't make a right, most of the time that's true. But in math, it may be true to say that 2 wrongs do make a right. So of course, I'm not trying to say anything against the words Jesus said, because I totally believe in them. But all I'm saying is, in math, sometimes 2 wrongs do make a right, and I'll show you how that's true in just a sec. So we go to the next page, and here's what I mean by that. If we think about negative numbers as being wrong, because negative kind of seems like wrong, right? And positive numbers as being right, then if you multiply this negative times this negative, you get a positive. In other words, 2 wrongs do make a right. Okay? But of course, that's just in math, right? Just kind of a way to help you remember, right? Okay, so in math, 2 wrongs can make a right. And so in this situation here, we had minus times minus equals positive. And in this situation, we have minus divided by minus equals positive. So it works for both multiplying and dividing. Okay, so 2 wrongs make a right only in math. All right. Now here's something. You've probably seen these things before at a doctor's office, like an optometrist, if you go in to get your eyes checked. You ever been there before, Chantel? So anyways, for anyone who's ever been at an eye doctor, an optometrist, you can recognize these charts, right, where the things get smaller and smaller. Let's see what it says here. It says an eye for an eye, and the whole world could be blind, right? Everybody takes an eye for an eye. And of course, Jesus taught us a whole different way, didn't he? He said it used to be an eye for an eye, but I say something different. So anyways, that's just kind of a joke there. But anyways, so let's review again how it works with both dividing and multiplying pluses and minuses. So we've already seen that 2 wrongs do make a right, but only in math. So if we have minus times minus, we get plus, and minus divided by minus, we get plus. The second rule we want to look at here is that minus wins over plus. So what I mean by that is if we multiply a minus times a plus, our answer is a minus. So that's why I say minus wins. And it's the same thing when we divide. If we divide a minus by a plus, again, our answer is minus, so minus wins. Okay? So that's the second rule here, minus wins over plus. And again, we saw that both rules 1 and 2 are the same for multiplication and division. So both these 2 rules, about 2 wrongs making a right and minus winning over plus. Okay. So now we're going to get into some examples here. Okay, so I said, quiet please, testing time, right? All right. Of course, you guys know that when it's a test, things have to be a little quieter, right? You got to concentrate. Okay, so that's a sign. All right, so now we're just going to test here. All right, so so if we have plus times plus, what does that equal? Well, that was an easy one, right? That's a plus, right? Plus times plus equals plus. How about, yeah, So how about plus times minus? What does that equal? Plus times minus. That's right, because minus wins. And how about minus times minus? That's plus. Good. So you got those rules that we were looking at before. Right on. And now we'll go to the divided by. What if we get plus divided by minus? What's that? That's a minus. Good. Minus wins. Minus divided by plus. Minus. Minus divided by minus. Good. Plus, because here's where two wrongs make a right. Okay. Good stuff. So we'll go on to the next one. Practice. This guy's practicing. He's got like so many hands juggling all these balls here. I got a brother-in-law who can juggle, and that guy is like amazing. He can juggle and he can unicycle, and he can juggle while he's unicycling. And when he got married, yeah, and when he got married, he brought his bride on his back on his unicycle, and then when they cut their wedding cake, he had a machete, one of those big long knives, and he juggled it, and then he cut the cake. They cut the cake together. So, yeah, he's a pretty talented guy. And he can even play basketball on the unicycle, and he can play floor hockey on the unicycle. Because I practiced with him before, and he competed for Team Canada playing basketball and playing floor hockey. So, pretty talented guy. So anyways, okay, so now we're just going to practice a few here. So we got, so I'm just gonna whip by some of these. So we've got minus 5 times minus 6. Okay, so that's a minus times a minus. That equals a plus, right? So it's going to be plus 30. Okay. The next one, if we go to B, we've got a plus times a minus. So plus times a minus. Minus wins. So the answer is going to be minus 42. Okay? Now the next one, and we're going to talk about later, we're going to go over bedmass again. And so bedmass rules again, order of operations. Just got to check. Okay. So yeah, with bedmass, sorry, we'll go into those rules later, but we know that first we do the first multiplication. So we multiply the minus 5 times the positive 3, and we get minus 15. So I'm just going to write down minus 15 times minus 8. Okay? And now we're going to do the next multiplication that we have, minus 15 times minus 8, which is going to be 120, positive 120. Minus times a minus gives us a plus. So positive 120. Okay, now those ones, that example right there was kind of a more basic order of operations, and we'll get into some more complicated ones later on. And please stop me at any point if there's something you want me to kind of clear up a bit, okay? So, all right, so now we'll move on to the next page. So, again, we've got a minus divided by a minus, and that's going to give us a plus, right? So plus 9. So some of these we're just going to whip by pretty quickly, right? Now we've got a minus divided by a plus. So again, minus wins, so it's going to be minus 8. Okay. Now we're going to get into something a little bit more challenging. Okay. So determine the missing integer. So what number would we multiply 40 by to get minus 800? Well, we might be able to recognize it and just figure out what it is. But another way we can find out what the answer is, if we aren't able to just kind of recognize it in our head, we can take minus 800, press it on our calculator, minus 800. You can press the plus minus button on your calculator and change the 800 to a minus 800. And then if you divide minus 800 by 40, that's going to give you minus 20. And that's what the answer should be. And then you can check that over if you want. You can multiply 40 times minus 20, and you should get minus 800. But again, if you weren't able to get it in your head, what you can do is divide this minus 800 by this 40, and that will give you the answer of minus 20. Okay? Cool so far? Okay, good stuff. So we'll go to the next screen. All right, solving word problems. Now what's this picture all about? Well, this guy's solving some kind of a problem, and it looks like, you know, the oil's, I don't know, maybe it's not oil. Water's dripping from the floor up above. This guy's solution, rather than fixing it up, is just to drill a hole in the floor and cause the next guy below to get a problem. So I don't know if that's really solving the problem, but I guess it is a solution, maybe just not a long-term solution, eh? Okay, so here's a question. It says the product of three integers is minus 24. So this is kind of like a word problem. Name three possibilities for the three integers. Okay, so the product of three integers is minus 24. Do you remember what that word product means? Okay, the product is the answer to a multiplication question. So I'm just going to write that down. Answer to multiplication question. Okay, so in other words, if you multiply, let's say, 2 times 3, that equals 6. 6 is the product of 2 and 3. Okay, so the product of three integers is minus 24. So the way we solve this one is we try to find all the three numbers that we can multiply together that'll give us minus 24. So, of course, we could multiply two numbers together. We could multiply like 6 times minus 4, but we need 3 of them. So we'll need to take either the 6 or the minus 4 and make it as two numbers that multiply to give that number. Okay? So can you think of two numbers that multiply to give 6? Okay, how about 2 times 3, right? All right, so, sorry, I always forget to take the phone away. Sorry about that, Chantel. I'm just going to step away just for a sec. I normally don't do this, but I might need to take this call. I'm just going to take it real quick. It's my wife, and I'll be back in just a sec. I'm really sorry, Chantel, okay? Hi, Chantel. I'm really sorry about that. Okay, so the number 6, two numbers that multiply together to give 6 would be 2 and 3. So 2 times 3 times minus 4, that would give us minus 24, right? So the product of those three integers is going to give us minus 24. Now we could do it another way. We could take the 6, and then we could break down the minus 4 and find two numbers that give us minus 4. So that would be 2 and negative 2, right? So another three numbers would be 6 times minus 2 times 2, right? So we're supposed to look at three different possibilities of three integers. So we've got 2 of them, and we've got to figure out one more. So in the beginning we took 6 and minus 4 as our two numbers that we broke down to get three numbers, right? Let's see if we can do it a different way. Well, here's one thing we could do. We could take this minus 4 and make it minus 4 times 1. So we could also make it 6 times minus 4 times 1. That's another way of doing it, right? Or if in the beginning, instead of having 6 times minus 4, we could have had 8 times minus 3. And then we could have looked at something like either 8 times minus 3 times 1, or something like that, right? So hopefully that gives a bit of an idea of how we could find three numbers. I think probably the best way of doing it is to first of all find two numbers that give minus 24, and then break one of them down into two numbers. Okay? So that's that question there. The next question, it says, when playing a game, Matt lost 8 points in each of his last 3 games. Use integers to show the number of points he lost in all. Okay, so the idea behind this one, if he lost 8 points, is it going to be plus 8 or minus 8? That's going to be minus 8, right? Okay, so yeah, so if you lost 8 points, it's going to be minus 8. So the way you could represent this, if you lost minus 8 3 times, you could either write minus 8, minus 8, minus 8 equals, okay, so you're going negative 8, and then you go another negative 8, that makes minus 16. You go another minus 8, that's minus 24. That's one way of doing it. So this would show the answer here. It says use integers to show the number of points he lost in all. So that there is answering the question, right? We're using integers and we're showing the number of points he lost in all. There's another way of doing it though. We could also say minus 8 times 3 equals minus 24. If we wrote that, that would also show losing minus 8 in 3 games and giving us minus 24. So either one of those would show the answer. Okay? So that's what this question's kind of asking is. And again, we know that multiplication is the same thing as adding something a number of times or subtracting something a number of times. Okay, so we'll go to the next one. The next one says, which two integers have a product of minus 20 and a sum of minus 2? Okay, so a product, again, that's numbers that multiply together, and then they have a sum of minus 2. So first we need to find out all the pairs of numbers that give us minus 20. So, like for instance, we could do minus 20 times 1, but we know that's pretty well not that, right? So we could say minus 20 times 10, those are a pair. Or we could say 20 times minus 10, right? Because both of those multiply to give us minus 20. We could also give like minus 6 times 20. Or we could give 6 times minus 20. And there's some more as well. Some I'm not even thinking of right now. Like for instance, 3 times minus 40, and we could have minus 3 times 40. Okay, so those are some examples. We might want to check to make sure we have all of them, or we could look at the ones we have and see if we can already answer the rest of the question. So the first part of the question says, which two integers have a product of minus 20? In other words, which two numbers can you multiply together to get minus 20? And we've come up with a bunch of them. The second part of the question says they have a sum of minus 2. In other words, we need to add these two numbers together and get minus 2. So, do any of the ones that we have so far add together to produce minus 2? Well, let's see. Here we have minus 20 and 10. That's going to give us minus 10. And you can see that this isn't going to be it. 20 minus 6 is going to be 14. Okay. So 3 and minus 40 is going to give us a big minus. None of them seem to be that close to each other. So we got to find two numbers that are closer together. All right, so we've got to try to come up with some other numbers. So if we keep trying numbers that multiply to produce minus 20, let's see, if we have 8 times 15, that's going to give us minus 20. Okay, 8 and 15. I'm sorry here. What was I thinking? I totally messed up here. Why am I saying that minus 20 times 10 is going to give us minus 120? Sorry about that. It should be minus 12 times 10, right? Of course. Sorry about that. Not thinking. Okay, so let's correct that. So if that was minus 12 times 10, and then we have, instead of 20 times minus 12, that should have been 12 times minus 10. Okay, so if we focus on these two, that should have been the correct answers. If we have 12 and minus 10, which ones can we add together to produce minus 2? 12 and minus 10, or minus 12 and 10? Which ones are going to give us a sum of minus 2? Well, it's going to be the minus 12 and the 10, right? Because the minus 12 is bigger. If we are minus 12 in the whole, and then we go up 10, or say we're on a number line, if we go 12 to the left, to the negative numbers, say, below freezing, and we go 10 to the right, we're still going to be 2 below freezing, right? So the answer should be this one right here, minus 12 and 10. Okay? So that's how we figure this one out. We come up with all the numbers, the pairs of numbers that produce minus 20, and then we look at the sum. We add them together, and which one gives us a sum of minus 2. Okay? That's how we do this one here. All right, question 6. How can you predict the sign of each product without actually calculating it? So in other words, how can you predict this answer without actually doing the math? Well, what you can do is you can say to yourself, okay, I'm trying to figure out what happens when I multiply minus times plus. The plus doesn't affect anything. It's only, a plus times a minus. It's only kind of two things multiplied by each other that affect anything. So we ignore this plus and we say, okay, minus times minus, that's kind of like the rule of 2 wrongs make a right in math, right? Okay? So in other words, it's going to be a positive. Okay? And if we look at this one here, again, we've got a plus. That doesn't affect anything. So we just look at plus times minus, minus wins. So we know the answer is going to be a minus in the end. Okay? So this question is asking us, don't do the actual math, but just predict if the answer is going to be positive or negative. And that's kind of how we do it. We kind of ignore one of the pluses, and we just look at the other two numbers. Okay? All right. So just stop me if there's anything you want to go over. Now we're going to get into stuff that's a little more complicated because we're doing the BEDMAS. So again, brackets first, then exponents, then division or multiplication. I put in the order they occur, going from left to right. Then addition or subtraction in the order they occur, going from left to right. Okay, so let's do the first one then. So using BEDMAS, we'll do this here. All right, so BEDMAS says do brackets first. Well, we can't really simplify what's in the brackets. That's as simple as it can get. We have no exponents, so now we go next to multiplication or division, right? D or M. So we need to, first of all, whenever we have a situation where we've got something on top and something on bottom, we need to simplify whatever's on top, and then we do the division. We divide whatever answer we get on top by the answer on the bottom. But first we need to simplify the answer on the top. So because we have minus times a plus, what's our answer going to be like? Is it going to be plus 36 or minus 36? If we have a minus, yeah. Okay, so it's going to be minus 36 over minus 4. Okay, and so now we do the division, and since it's minus divided by minus, we're going to get a 9, and it's going to be plus, like he said, because 2 wrongs make a right in math. Okay, so that's how we do that one there. And then we'll go to the next one. So the next one here, again, we can't simplify the brackets, we can't do any exponents, so we go to either addition or subtraction, or sorry, multiplication or division. So again, we do the first multiplication or division that we come across going from left to right. So that means we don't do this division here, because it's not the first multiplication or division going from left to right. This multiplication is. So we need to multiply 7 times minus 6, and so minus wins, and so it's going to be minus 42. So, and then we just write out the rest of the stuff, and then we'll keep the minus 7 in brackets. Okay, so now we're still on BEDMAS, and BEDMAS still tells us that we stick with division or multiplication before going to addition or subtraction. So we need to do this multiplication here before we can do this subtraction. So 3 times minus 7 is going to give us minus 21. So now we just write the next step in our answer. So minus 42 minus 21 that we got from the multiplication. Now we can do addition or subtraction, because BEDMAS says after multiplication or division, do addition or subtraction. So we got a minus, and then we're going more minus, so we're going to minus 63. We've got minus 42, it's like we've got a negative number, it's really cold out, and then it gets even more negative, and so we're at minus 63. Okay, so that's how we did that one. Go on to the next one, still talking BEDMAS here. So again, like the last question, we want to simplify everything we can simplify on the bottom, and then we can do the division of the top divided by the bottom. Okay, so we're just going to focus on the bottom for now. So if we focus on the bottom, we use BEDMAS on the bottom. Okay, we're kind of it's almost like the bottom is like a separate math problem right now. So if we're doing BEDMAS on the bottom, we can simplify brackets, right? Because the first thing in BEDMAS is brackets. So we're going to simplify everything that we can in the brackets till we've got just the number in there. Okay, so we've got minus 2 minus 18. So we're going to rewrite that. So I'm just going to rewrite the whole question. So we've got minus 16, might take us a little space here, so minus 16 divided by, and then in our brackets here, we've got minus 2 plus 18. Okay, because when we have minus 18, that becomes a plus. It's like another way of thinking of 2 wrongs making a right in math. Okay, so we have 2 minuses beside each other, that always equals a plus. Okay, so I just rewrote the question, and all I've done so far, again, I'm simplifying what's in the brackets, and the first thing I do to simplify is I take these 2 minuses and I make them into a plus because they're beside each other. I can take the brackets away, and then I just have minus 18, and we know that gives us a plus. Okay, so that's all I've done so far. Now I got to simplify these brackets some more. Minus 2 plus 18, it's like going 2 to the left and then 18 to the right. It's going to make an overall of 16 to the right. So we're going to have plus 16. Okay, so what we're going to have in brackets is plus 16. So I'll write the next step in the solution. We got minus 16 divided by, so inside those brackets, I'll just write them again just to show what we have. We have 16 times minus 1. Okay, so now we can do the math that's on the bottom still. We've got 16 times minus 1. We're going to end up with a negative answer of minus 16. Okay, so we now have minus 16 on the top divided by minus 16 on the bottom. Okay, so our final answer is going to be 1. Because whenever we divide any number, the same number on top and bottom, our answer is always 1. So it's going to be positive 1. All right. So does that kind of make sense, all the steps we did? Again, remember, we always want to simplify everything on the bottom first of all, and once we've done that, then we can divide the top by the bottom. Or if we have a whole bunch of messy stuff on the top, then we want to simplify all that messy stuff first and then divide by the bottom. Okay, so going on to the next one. So again, we're doing BEDMAS again. We always want to simplify brackets first. So we can see that we have this brackets we're going to have to simplify first. So that's the first thing we're going to do. So we have -2 plus -3 times, and then we're just going to simplify what's in the brackets. When we have -8 plus 4, that's going to give us -4, right? Okay, so we've still got those brackets there, but they're not really doing anything. They've been simplified. Okay, so now we know that we're always going to do next, after brackets, comes multiplication or division, going from left to right. So we skip this addition here because we need to do this times first, this multiplication first. So we're going to do -3 times -4. That's going to give us positive 12. Okay, so we're going to have -2 plus positive 12. Okay, so we did the multiplication first. Now, after we do multiplication or division, now we can do addition or subtraction. So we got -2 plus 12. The plus is bigger, so it's going to be plus 10. And that's how we do that one. Okay, and then we will go, I think this might be our last question. The two last questions here. Okay, so we're looking at E, and again, we need to do brackets first. So how do we simplify this here? Again, we've got -2, and we've got -8. So that gives us +8, right? So we'll just kind of rewrite that again. We'll still keep the brackets for now because we haven't totally simplified it. We're just going to do that first step of changing those two minuses into a plus. And that's all we've done so far. Okay, so we've still got our brackets. We still need to simplify our brackets. We've got -2 and +8 in the brackets. That's going to give us +6. Okay, so in the brackets we've got +6 times -5. Okay, so now all we've got is a times left, right? That's the last thing we need to do is a times. So +6 times -5 is going to give us -30. And that'll be our answer. Okay. All right, so this next one here, you can see it's kind of messy on top and messy on bottom, right? So we need to simplify everything that's on the top and then simplify everything that's on the bottom. Okay, so first we do the math that's on top. 49 divided by -7, that's going to give us -7, right? Okay, so we've got that. And now we're going to do the first step that we can do on the bottom. So if you look at the bottom, we do BEDMAS. We can't do brackets. We can't do exponents. We next do multiplication or division before this addition. We multiply -2 times -3. That gives us +6. So we're going to rewrite this as 1 plus 6. So we write that on the bottom, 1 plus 6. Okay. So again, now we're going to clean up everything on the bottom. So that's going to give us +7, right? So we're going to have -7 on top, +7 on the bottom. And then when we do the math, we're going to have, what kind of answer? Is it going to be minus, a negative answer, or a positive answer? When we're dividing a minus by a plus, we're going to get a minus, right? Because minus wins. Okay, so our final answer then is going to be -1. Okay, so does that stuff pretty well make sense? Okay, good. So try these questions again, and same for everybody out there. please try all the questions again, guys, and make sure you can get them on your own. What I would do is sometimes, try the recording and, stop it at one point, and if you need to play it again, you can do it that way, and, try it on your own, and just make sure you can get them all, either using the PDF file or the recording or both. And so I think this is all the questions, pretty sure. Oh, guess what? One more to go. I was wrong. Okay, we'll go over this one last question. Sorry about that. Okay, so maybe I'll go through this one fairly quickly. So we want to clean up the top first of all, and we've got a minus and another minus. We've got a plus here. So we should first of all do these two numbers. We've got a minus plus a minus 16. And whenever you have a plus and a minus beside each other, you just make it into a plus, right? It's kind of like minus wins again. So you would put minus 9 minus 16 in order to clean this kind of up. Okay, so you're going to put minus 9 minus 16. So we're going to put minus 9 minus 16 minus 10 divided by, and maybe we'll do like one step of cleaning things up on the bottom as well. So on the bottom, we have multiplication and we have division. So we do the first thing that we come across going left to right. So we have minus 7 times 10. That's going to give us minus 70. So on the bottom, we're going to write minus 70 divided by, and I don't think I can do the divided by symbol here, so I'm just going to put a slash, minus 2. So you could do it either by totally cleaning up the top, in other words, totally simplifying the top, and then starting to simplify the bottom, or if you want, you can kind of simplify them both at the same time. It's up to you. Okay, so if we look at the top, we have minus 9, and we go minus 16, we're getting even more negative. Minus 9 and then minus 16 gives us minus 25, and then we go even more negative to minus 10. Minus 25 minus 10 gives us minus 35. I've done 3 steps in one there, but it's all doing the same thing. We're just going more and more minus. Okay, so the 3 steps on the top give us minus 35. On the bottom, you can see we have minus 70. Minus 70 divided by minus 2. That's going to give us a positive, right? 2 wrongs make a right here. So 70 divided by 2 gives us 35. So on the bottom, we're going to have plus 35. And now that we've cleaned everything up, now we can do the division. So minus 35 divided by plus 35 is going to give us minus 1. Okay, and now I think we actually are at the end. All right. So thanks for coming, Chantel. And I just want to encourage everyone to, again, practice all these questions. And if you have any questions about this, Chantel, let me know. After you've practiced these, if you find there's any you want to go over, please let me know. Same with everybody else. And hope you have a great rest of the day. So enjoy your time with your, how many animals do you have again? I'm trying to remember. 8. My goodness. You're outnumbered, hey? Well, enjoy the time with your 8 pets. Well, thanks a lot for coming, Chantel. God bless and have a great day. All right. Bye for now.